A cordial greeting. Today is Saturday, June 13, 2026. This is meteorologist Ruben Garcia speaking. In today's video, I will discuss the low-pressure system located in the southern Gulf region, which has low chances of development as it moves toward the states of Tamaulipas and Texas. I will discuss the latest projections from the weather models and the rainfall totals expected over the next few days across Tamaulipas and coastal sectors of Texas. In the second part of the video, I will talk about the areas we will be monitoring during the upcoming week. First, I will discuss a favorable phase of the Madden Julian Oscillation that may promote the movement of tropical waves between the Caribbean and Africa, and then I will discuss the potential for tropical cyclone development in the eastern Pacific region. So, let's return to southern Mexico, where for several days now the National Hurricane Center has been closely monitoring a low-pressure area. And although conditions are not very favorable for tropical cyclone development, it is possible that the low-pressure area may strengthen during the next 24 to 48 hours before moving inland. This is why the National Hurricane Center maintains a 20% chance of tropical cyclone development just east of the Texas and Tamaulipas coastline, although the chances of development currently remain quite low at only 20%, and at the moment these probabilities are not expected to increase. And if we look at the infrared satellite animation, we can see that the low-pressure area remains disorganized. However, it is generating some areas of strong convection and rainfall that for the moment remain over Gulf waters. But gradually, over the next 48 hours, a flow of moisture will begin affecting sectors of Tamaulipas and Texas. At least regarding the projections from the global models, the American model, although it strengthens the low-pressure area, does not develop it into a tropical depression before it reaches Tamaulipas during the early morning hours of Sunday. The artificial intelligence version also shows a defined low-pressure area. However, it also does not strengthen it into a tropical depression. Meanwhile, the European model also shows a strengthened low-pressure area moving into northern Tamaulipas during the early morning hours of Sunday without developing a tropical depression. And the same is projected by the artificial intelligence version of the European model, as well as by the German model projection. This is why we are fairly confident that the low-pressure area will not have enough time over Gulf waters to organize into a tropical cyclone, and the impacts will be mostly limited to showers affecting Tamaulipas between today and Monday and coastal sectors of Texas from Sunday through Tuesday. According to the latest projections, the models forecast rainfall totals across the southern half of Tamaulipas between 50 and 75 millimeters from today, Saturday, through Monday, while for coastal sectors of Texas they maintain rainfall totals between 1 and 3 inches from Sunday through Tuesday. And although we do not anticipate significant development, I will continue monitoring in case any unexpected changes occur in the forecast, and if necessary, I will record a new update for you. Now let's talk a little about the longer-term outlook, particularly over the next 2 to 3 weeks. At the moment, and as we have anticipated, the Atlantic continues to be quite inactive due to the effects of El Niño, which has already developed in the Pacific and is producing strong wind shear across the Caribbean, while also creating very stable atmospheric conditions that are unfavorable for tropical cyclone formation. According to the latest forecast that I will discuss in other videos, the outlook is that the Atlantic hurricane season will be less active than normal. But remember, it is always important to be prepared because a single hurricane can cause damage in the area where you live. And although the infrared satellite animation shows that we do not have areas of significant instability, I did want to mention that during the next 10 days we will be in a phase of the Madden Julian Oscillation that typically generates more favorable conditions for cyclone formation in the Atlantic. And this means that there is a possibility that we may see some strong tropical waves emerging from Africa and moving toward the Caribbean Sea. And although I will be closely monitoring the evolution of these tropical waves, the effects of El Niño should really be sufficient to prevent tropical cyclone development. This is why some long-range projections, such as the American Ensemble model, show some strong tropical waves moving across the tropical Atlantic. However, the projections indicate that they would not achieve tropical cyclone development. With a bit of luck, these tropical waves may eventually bring some rainfall across sectors of the Caribbean, where some rainfall deficits are already being reported, and any tropical wave that manages to amplify in the tropical Atlantic region will eventually face strong wind shear, especially across the eastern Caribbean Sea. And as is typical during years when we have El Niño, stronger than normal wind shear is projected to continue across the Caribbean Sea region. And although some of these tropical waves may eventually bring some rainfall to the Caribbean, the reality is that NOAA's Climate Prediction Center projects that during the next 2 to 3 weeks there is a high probability that rainfall will be below normal across the Caribbean region and Central America. The situation is a bit different in the eastern Pacific region, where the hurricane season is forecast to be very active, and some long-range projections are already beginning to show the possibility of new cyclone development south and west of Mexico. So starting next week, we will begin closely monitoring the projections and what they show in the Eastern Pacific region. In fact, NOAA's Climate Prediction Center indicates more than a 20% chance of tropical cyclone development in the Eastern Pacific between June 17 and June 23, and the probabilities increase to over 60% in this sector during the period from June 24 to June 30. The important thing is that for the moment we can remain calm. There is no imminent threat of tropical cyclone development and impact, although we will continue monitoring the low-pressure area heading toward Tamaulipas and Texas, while the rest of the Atlantic remains and is expected to remain quiet for the rest of the month of June, and we will see what happens in the Eastern Pacific region. Well, that is all for this tropical update. If you enjoy this content, I invite you to give this video a like or thumbs up. Also, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and click the bell so that you receive notifications whenever I upload new videos. I hope everyone has an excellent weekend. See you later.